Greetings, everyone. I am Christine Kidder, career coach, helping you have work that works for you. And I'm really excited to be streaming live on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube with a special guest, a very special guest, Marie Garcia, to join me. Hi, Marie. How are you?
Hi, Christine. I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and we're really excited to have this conversation live today on these platforms. And the conversation today, this afternoon, is about career coaching. So how does career coaching work? I think that, well, right now there's a record number of career coaches that are out there, and also two coaches in other areas as well. I mean, it's a very, very interesting time. But just because there's so many coaches out there and career coaches, I think there's even more questions about how career coaches work. And I started a poll yesterday, and we'll be referring to that. But if you are watching this live right now, number one, let us know, put in the comments. Otherwise, we don't know if you are watching. And then also, to put where you're watching from. But most importantly, give us your questions. What are your questions about career coaching? Because we want to answer them for you. We want to give you information on that. And we're going to go ahead and kick this off. This all came out of a conversation that Marie and I had when we were in Nashville last month. And we were talking about the impact that career coaching has had in our lives. And so Marie, I wanted to kick it off by turning it over to you and asking you to share your experience with career coaching.
Absolutely, Christine, and thank you. It's interesting. I've always been an athlete, even as a young child. And so I've always had a coach, whether that be for swimming, for dance, for tennis. It's always been a part of my life and helped me to take my game to the next level. So what career coaching came into my world was in 2017. I found myself in a position that I did not care for very much and felt stuck. I wasn't sure, should I change and do something different? Should I maybe try a different industry or company? Just a lot of questions, Christine, and not a lot of answers. And so it just so happened that I was on Facebook reading a post from one of my girlfriends, and she shared that a friend of hers was a coach. And I thought, that's interesting. And I believe it was a professional development coach was her particular title. And so I got really curious about, what does that even mean? I had never, I always knew of coaches in sports, but I didn't know like what that could look like in a career. So I reached out to her. We had she scheduled a call for us to meet just to make sure that there was connection between us and to get a better idea of what my goals were. And I have to tell you, if I could go back to 2017, I would give myself a huge hug and thank myself for reaching out and hiring that coach. And the reason I say that is that my career from 2008 to 2017 was significantly different than my career from 2017 to where it is today. And that was all because of hiring a coach.
Mm-hmm.
I think that what really helped is during the process is that she helped me understand who I was, what my strengths were, my personal values. That was something I had never asked myself before. And how does that relate to my career? And that was just a mindset shift for me, to think of values when it comes to work. And I've got to tell you that while I was working my way through that role, I was able to show up a little bit different, knowing now, hey, this is what's really important to me. So how can I incorporate that into my current job, which was a completely different mindset than I had before? And as I went through that process, a new opportunity came up. And Christine, it was the first time in my career where I purposefully made a decision of my next move. Up to this point, it had been, you know what, Marie, you know what you'd be great at? You'd be great at this. Hey, there's this new opportunity. You should apply, right? And it was like, oh, well, if you think, sure, that's what's next. That's what's next. But this time, it was so different. And this time I knew why I was saying no to my current position and why I was saying yes to that next step and that next role.
Yeah. 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 And going back to our Nashville conversation, I mean, I have found that career coaching is just such a great alternative to traditional learning. I'm nothing against higher education and, getting your college degree and, the traditional educational paths, but corporate America has to do a better job of training its workforce. And also too, I know, trying to fill positions in corporate America, and you look at people coming out of the educational system, it's like they're not ready for the challenges. I feel like they're not keeping up, but that's where coaching can really help fill the void in personal development and helping with emotional intelligence so people can really thrive in corporate America, or as entrepreneurs, just to meet the challenges that businesses have to face. It's just a great way of learning. And like you, although when growing up, I wasn't super athletic, but then as an adult, I got into running, and then I really had this interest in triathlon. And but I didn't know how to swim. I never learned how to swim as a child. And so I had to get a swim coach. And you can imagine trying to learn how to swim as an adult can be challenging and scary, especially in triathlon when you have to get comfortable with swimming in open water. And working with, and I worked with more than one swim coach too. I worked with at least 3. And it really helped me so much. And now I love swimming, even in open water, as scary as it, can be. And then from there, I branched out and in having my own business. I mean, working with coaches on a one-on-one basis or in group programs. There's different ways, and we'll touch upon that. But yeah, it helps so much. It really helps with that learning curve and to accelerate your path.
Yes, absolutely. And if there's something I want to touch upon what you shared there, with respect, to the education and the training, right? And that's also important. This is how you do your job, right? This is kind of what you can expect when you start learning about business strategy, finance, right? So it's great to have that foundation that education provides. And then what most corporations do is that they do provide you a training on how to do your job, how to use the systems that you work with, how to talk to clients, if that's, part of the position. I think with coaching, the difference, it teaches you how you're showing up, who you are being as you're doing the job. And that's the critical difference, because I was still doing the same tasks as I was doing before. I was, meeting with my staff. I was setting sales goals, but who I was as I was doing that work, she was completely different. And I think that it not only helped me in that particular role, but every role moving forward, it's been, who do I want to be? And then, so this is what the role is, but this is how I want to show up in the role. This is the uniqueness that I bring to this position. And as I've done some coaching within corporate, what I find is a lot of those I coach, there's like, well, what does that mean? Like, how do I do that? Who am I? How do I want to show up at work? And what are my strengths? And so when you start getting those questions answered, it's almost like this inner confidence starts to develop as well from working with a coach, that you show up differently, people see you differently. And then all of a sudden, Christine, I mean, it's like opportunities just start coming up. And I think the reason for that is they're feeling something different from you, and they're seeing you differently than they did before. And so when they're in meetings where new positions are being discussed, when strategies are being talked about and who can help us roll this out, right? Then they start like, hey, I think this person would be a great fit for this role. And that's something that's very unique with coaching, with compared to traditional training and education, at least in my experience that I noticed, that was the game changer and the accelerator in my career.
Yes. Yeah. And, how often we think about, or, like with loved ones, or people that in work that we respect. And I don't know, I feel I've caught myself thinking, gosh, if he saw the way that I see him, if he saw the strength that I see in him, or like when you're supervising someone, you see the potential in that person, but they don't see the potential. And I think that's one of the beauties about working with a coach, is like, it's like they shine that light on your potential, and they're like opening your eyes to it. And it's just, that's really valuable. And then I think you tap into your own inner coach, because through that work, because ultimately, I mean, we have to follow our guide, our inner guide. We have to follow that inner compass. And which can be hard nowadays, because there's so much, there's the news, there's all those external factors that your inner voice, your inner compass is competing against. And again, I think a coach can really help you in shining the light on your strengths, and just to have someone else say, hey, have you ever thought about this, and just to get that expert opinion on something. And then you're like, I did think about that, but at the time I really didn't think that much of it, because we also have the inner critic, who's kind of like debating our inner guide, like, no, you don't want to do that. Why would you want to do that? No, stay here on the sofa, watch Netflix.
Absolutely. And that's so true. And again, you touch upon another really good point about a coach, is that they are this neutral third party that's outside of you and your situation. And so therefore, like you mentioned, they're able to see the full potential and shine that light so that you yourself can begin to see it. And they start just to tease it out. And that was something with coaching that was different than a mentor, different than a boss, different than a friend, was that in that coaching conversation, you truly are the sole focus of that conversation. And that was something that took a while for me to get used to. And that there's no agenda with the individual speaking to. It's almost as if they come to that conversation, again, the sole focus on you and what it is that you want and what is it that you need. And that's unique. And when I was doing some coaching within corporate, a lot of my clients had a similar experience as I did with my own coaching experience, which was, oh, like this is my time. This is about me. I'm the focus. Like it's taking me a while to, switch, Marie. That's what this conversation is like. And when you're in that space, I think it's also the guard kind of falls down where you feel you can be your full self. And when that starts to happen, the richness and depth of the conversation you have with a coach, the guidance that they're able to offer, it's different than anything else that you've ever experienced. And I think, because as you mentioned, there's how does career coaching work? There's a lot of career coaches out there, but what does this really mean? What is that experience like? And I think that's another important point to touch upon, just how the coaching relationship is different than a friend, a mentor, a colleague, and just the benefits of having that type of relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And it helps so much. I mean, you get so much out of it, the accountability, the brainstorming. I mean, just the accountability thing alone is just so important. But then to tap into, again, what I was saying, the expert perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, because you don't know what you don't know, and to get that expert perspective is very helpful indeed. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's huge. And then there's so many different types of coaching as well. So I don't want to be jumping all over here, but so one of the things that I guess that one of the biggest questions in the poll that I started yesterday, and we almost have already 2,500 views for that poll. And again, it's like, what the poll is, for anyone who hasn't seen it, is like, what's your biggest question regarding career coaching? And the four choices are, well, one of them is, why should I work with a career coach? Like, what's the point? What is it going to get me then, like, working on my own on my career? And I think we've touched upon different reasons why, like what would be the motivation. And it's just, I think it's good to try something new too. If you haven't worked with a career coach, maybe going into this new year, maybe now is the time for you to consider it. And there's so many different ways to work with a coach, right, Marie? I mean, there's one-on-one, there's group coaching. Do you want to speak a little bit to that about, the different coaching that you're aware of?
Yeah, absolutely. And even when I just started talking about my coaching experience, it was a professional development coach. There are personal development coaches, career coaches, executive, corporate. So, I can understand why that question would come up, because there is great diversity within the world of coaching. And what it looks like is completely different, right? So there's face-to-face, one-on-one coaching. All of my coaching that I've received has just been on the phone or via Zoom, and has been incredibly powerful. And I have to admit, I was a little worried that my coach was in Hawaii and I was in Washington, but it made absolutely no difference. That impact, that ability to connect was definitely there. Group coaching. So that was a piece I added on maybe 7 to 8 months into my one-on-one coaching, because you touched upon it, Christine. It's the power of perspective. And so I thought, well, if I'm in a group coaching session, then I can hear the thoughts, the ideas from all of these various different people, from all of these different industries. And what could I take away from their lived experience that could help me with where I'm at today? And that's the power, I believe, in that group coaching setting. And again, all of that has been virtual. I've got some friends that are in some masterminds here within our neighborhood community, and they do meet face to face. So that's like another option as well. sometimes when you're in a mastermind, there'll be something that you guys all have in common. So it could be that you're looking to advance your career. So you're in a mastermind of women who are all wanting to advance their careers. You could be in a mastermind as an entrepreneur with other people who are just starting their businesses, right? So you can learn from each other, you can collaborate.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's something that's been huge. The collaboration and connection. And as these women get to know each other within that group coaching or mastermind setting, what I've seen is they're offering jobs to each other. Like, you're the person I've been looking for. And I think when people start looking into 2022 and you're thinking about hiring a career coach, like, is this something I want to do for myself? If you want different results, you have to take different action. And if you've
Yes.
never done this before, why not? This is the time.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Another question too that was in the poll that I ran that I started yesterday was, how much does it cost? Because I think often people might think, oh, I can't do career coaching. It's too expensive, or whatever. And really, there's so many, as we were saying, as you were saying, there's so many different types of career coaching. It comes in different formats, and also too, it depends on the career coach that you're working with, what you're working toward, what you need. You don't have to be doing a job search to have a career coach. I mean, I'd say, working on a job search is one of the reasons to be working with a career coach, but it's not the only reason. So many people, and I think that the pandemic caused it. It caused people to think differently and to really consider that career pivot or career change that they thought was impossible, you know. So that's another great reason to work with a career coach. I definitely had a lot of people approach me saying, what do you think? Do you think this is possible? Do you think, can you help me with this? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. It is possible. But it's not going to be possible unless you take action.
Yes. That is the key piece right there, Christine. Absolutely. Got to take action for sure.
Yeah. It can be so scary. It can be really scary. And I try in working with my clients, I try to talk them. Well, I do talk them off the ledge, because it's like, okay, let's do some deep breathing and put together a plan. But even before the plan, and this is my three keys in my process, is to reflect. Make sure that you're spending the time and reflecting and dialing into that inner compass, that inner guide, to really know, to connect with what's your purpose, and what is your motivation, what's that internal, like, fire in your belly, and then put together a plan, on how to get there, and how to have that every day, to be just vibrating so so excited about your job and your work, and then to take action on it, to actually execute on that plan.
Oh, I love those three pieces of your program. And you mentioned that accountability piece. That's huge. And I think that's a difference from doing it on your own and having somebody, so that as you're going through that process, you have those touch points as somebody saying, okay, so where are we at? How'd it go? This is what we set up. Where are we going next? And I think that's a big piece of that as well. But you mentioned, when is it time to work with a career coach, Christine? And so I'd love your thoughts on, because you mentioned it's not just when you're doing a job search that you would look for a career coach. Can you maybe share some other reasons why someone would reach out to work with you as a career coach?
Yes, I would say, this goes back to our conversation in Nashville, because part of that conversation was how, if you're working in corporate, but really anyone, it applies to entrepreneurs. I mean, we all really need to take charge of our work, of our careers. We need to be responsible and own it. Like when I had worked in corporate America, I saw a lot of employees just kind of be passive and just like wait for their boss to tell them what to do and what their development plan was. And then when they weren't happy about it, it's like, well, wait a second. It's your work. It's your reputation. It's your job. Own it. Really own it. Take it and go to your boss and really say, this is what I'm interested in doing. This is what I'd like to do. What do you think? Well, is this possible? But it all starts with the employee, with the person, with you. You've got to own it. And so I think it's really taking ownership and thinking, okay, where do I want to be a year from now?
Yes.
Where do I want to be? Yes. Where do I want to be 2 years from now, 3 years from now? Because, and that's the beauty about working with a coach, because if you don't work with a coach, you can say, okay, this is how I want to be better a year from now. This is the different spot. This is the direction that I want to go. This is the growth I'm looking for. And when you work with a coach, it's like you're increasing your chances of getting there, because you're putting yourself on the hook financially, time-wise. You've got this expert involved that's helping you. I mean, you're really like upping your game, and you're not just kind of hanging out, saying, oh, if this happens, that happens, whatever. I mean,
Yes. And that, Christine, as you were sharing, that brought up a couple of memories for me, and some points that you just made, some critical points. I just want to make sure that the audience heard there. And that is ownership of your career. That was guidance and advice given to me from a mentor early on. He said, do not wait for the company to tell you what to do, to invest you and offer training. You need to invest in you. It is your career. Own it. And I had never seen it that way. I thought, well, in college, this is what you need to do. Check these boxes. All right, well, now I'm in my first job. All right, now the company's going to tell me, check these boxes, do A, B, C, and that's how you move up the ladder. So again, it was just like, oh, I take ownership. And like what you said, once I did take ownership, then I started stepping into positions that I loved. Oh, that I loved, that I was excited to show up for, that I was bringing my full self to the position. And then it was one year after another, promotion. So that brings me to the investment piece. So one of the questions, what does coaching cost? That was a question that I had as well. And it's all over the board. Some people offer hourly coaching, right? With $250 to $500 an hour. Some have one-on-one packages, which are always more expensive. Some do group, some do one-on-one and group. I have spent anywhere from $500 to an hour to $10,000 on a coaching program. And I will tell you, every single one of those investments, my return has been 10 or 20 fold on every single one of them. And that speaks to that taking ownership piece. The greatest asset you can invest in is yourself. And when you make that investment in yourself with money, with time, with commitment, it completely changes the game, completely changes the game. And I did it for my career. What the side effect of that was, not only did my career accelerate exponentially, not only did the money I was making accelerate exponentially, but what I learned from that process, my relationships, my family, my friend, how I show up for my community, that completely, oh, I'm just getting goosebumps, completely changed and evolved as well. So I just wanted to share that it's not this vacuum where it's only your career that accelerates. It's almost if all aspects of your life accelerate as well.
Yeah. Oh, excellent point, Marie. Yeah, I've had the same thing. I feel like it's helped me. It's like when the tide rises, all the boats rise. So if you're showing up more fully in your work, like if you weren't happy or you were dissatisfied or unfulfilled, whatever, you weren't content with it, and you started working with a coach and you felt that you were improving and that was a better part of your life, like it's highly likely that you're going to be showing up more for your family and showing up more with your friends and showing up more in your community because you're feeling much better about your work, and so yeah, so that's a really good point. um I wanted to touch upon too, employers, like I think employers are starting to come around and realize that they have to be more creative in training and developing their staff. And really, a sign of a good employer is when they want you to be your very best, and support you, and if that means that they don't have an opportunity for you down the road, like you'd be a better fit for another company, then that's fine, because they're leaving you better off than where you were. It's like, I don't want anyone to think that just because Sally is working with a career coach that she's looking for a job outside of our company. I mean, the fact that Sally wants to be better, employers want employees who want to be better, who are constantly looking, how can I up my game? How can I be better than I was yesterday? And yeah, because that's what makes life more fun. It's like, okay, what can I do? What can I work on today? How can I be better than yesterday? And that's a really good thing. So
Yes. And that's, for the 14 plus years that I've been in corporate, that has been a significant shift. I would say probably within the last 3 years that I've experienced, maybe even further back, but even more recently, where we're talking about empathy and leadership. We're talking about creating a coaching culture. I mean, those were things that were not being discussed when I stepped into the corporate world 14 years ago. And so to the employers that are, starting to recognize the power of coaching and creating a coaching culture and teaching your managers how to coach to help the employees, I think that even what we've shared here today is important to note what that can look like. You can bring in a career coach, somebody such, as yourself, Christine, right? Bring that in to those people who are saying, yes, I want to invest in myself. I want to know what's next. And like, yeah, here's somebody that you can partner with. You could create masterminds within your organization. All of those
yeah.
people, right? Who are like, hey, I want to be the next level of leadership in this organization. How can we all come together, support, and lift each other up so that when that generation retires, you've got like this solid bench that's like, hey, we're ready now. We're ready to show up. And if you have that coaching experience at that time, then as those leaders progress within your company, they're coaching those around them. They're leaving people better off than when they first came in. And employees feel that. And that's where you get that stickiness within an organization, right? Because employers, it shows that you're willing to invest in your employees in a different way than we've done traditionally, that you genuinely care about their well-being, their holistic self, about their career development and what that can look like. So I just wanted to quit because I know that we're coming on time here. But when you mentioned the employer piece, I thought, ooh, that's definitely, this is for them as well, and what they can bring in to their companies to help those employees.
Yes, yeah. Just to try to wrap up, and summarize the comments that have been on this poll. So again, everyone, and I'll put this in the comments, but since I started my poll yesterday, it's a 3-day poll. So would love to, if you haven't voted in the poll, would love for you to vote in the poll, because it'll close out tomorrow. And then, so I've had some of the comments included, someone said that their experience working with coaches has been different depending on the coach that they worked with. And then someone said another good question is, why not hire a career coach? Because far too many people become complacent without even noticing it. And then all of a sudden, 10 years go by. And even any type of minor incremental improvement to your career has profound
Oh, I lost you on my side, Christine, just as you were going through the comments. Oh, yeah. So sorry, Christine. It looks like I've lost you. Um, and those were some really good questions that were being shared. And I think if we're going to speak to like different experience working with coaches, um, oh, are you back, Christine?
I am back. Thanks for your flexibility with that. All of a sudden, I was gone. I'm like, where did I go? But I'm back.
Oh, good, good, good. Yeah, I was just sharing. I think one of the comments before you dropped off was, having a different experience with coaches, and I think that's why I interviewed coaches to because you want to. There has to be that connection, and whatever their coaching process is and how they coach
Mhm.
has to be aligned with the goals that you want. So I do want to encourage those who maybe have had a mixed bag of experiences with past coaching experiences. It's okay to interview, and it's okay to say, you know what, I don't feel like this is a good fit, and to try with another coach, because when that alignment is there, as we've shared, during our call, during this chat today, it's game and life changing. So I just wanted to put that out there, that it's perfectly fine to interview different coaches to find the one that's the best fit for you.
Yes, yeah, and you should do that, because, and I've had that as well when I've talked with someone, and I say to them, it's like, to me, the bottom line is, because I've just had such a positive experience with coaching, specifically career coaching, but other, like, many different forms of coaching. But since I've had such a good experience, and I continue to have a good experience with it, my main thing is I want individuals to work with career coaches. It doesn't have to be me. I would love it if you would work with me, but if I'm not the best fit for you, let me help you find someone who is, because again, I want you to be successful, and I want you to get to that result that you're looking for. That's what's most important. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So anyway, cool. Yeah, and oh, this is another good question too. How do you pick the right fit? That's kind of what we were talking about, how you should interview people. Talk with people who have worked with career coaches like Marie and me. You know, ask people, have you worked with a career coach? And try to get some referrals. Do your research. And yeah, so those are some good things to do, to find, to get connected
Yeah.
with the right coach for you that can help you. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is that when you start talking to coaches, we're all in different certifications or consortiums. So that's another beautiful thing is that like I've had some sessions where I'm like, you know what, I love what you're going for, and I have this coach in my program that I think would be a wonderful fit for you. Can I introduce you? So that's something else that's different about coaches. That just like Christine said, our goal is for you to be successful and what success looks like for you. If that's with us, fantastic. If not, then let me find somebody you can partner with, because the ultimate goal, as mentioned, is your success. And Christine, you brought up excellent points on how to find that perfect fit, and that's exactly what I did as well. Definitely with referrals, asking people that have had coaches, who they worked with, what was it like? As you've heard from Christine and I with our experiences, definitely ask those questions to get a better feel for what other people's experiences have been like as well.
yeah, for sure. And then the other thing I guess I would say, just kind of in closing, is that many coaches will, do an introductory call, and that way you can get, and I've even two-stepped it, because I like to do virtual coffees, to help connecting people with each other, and just to have a short, quick call to find out what someone needs help with, and like their elevator pitch, and even to give them some feedback on it, and then if someone is interested in getting a plan, like getting the what on what they need to do, what needs to happen in order to get to that desired result. It's not the how, because the how is the actual coaching piece, and that's what coaches get paid for. So, but at least to find out what the plan would look like. Many coaches do that discovery call, and that way you can do your fact finding and get some details. So
Love that. And that's yeah, and for those who are looking for coaches, coaches should be offered that clarity call. And I love how you do that, Christine, because that also just gives a feel for who you are, what it's like to work with you, and an idea of like, okay, so what could this be? And like you said, the how is the actual coaching. So then how do people find you? Because I'm thinking about some of the folks that have reached out to me, they're looking specifically for a career coach. So for those in my network that have been reaching out and asking, leading up to you and I talking today, how would they reach out to you and work with you? What does that look like?
so I am on LinkedIn, obviously. My website is also my name, so that's pretty easy, christinezkidder.com. But also, too, what I'll do is, while we're talking here, not only am I going to put the poll in the links here, or in the comments for this discussion, but I'll also put my link tree, because that's a handy link, for people just to see, like if someone wants to just schedule like that discovery conversation with me, because it's totally complimentary. It's just to get some more information. Then they can do that. So I'll put that in the comments as well. So yeah. So that'll be the best way to get a hold of me. So yeah. And then Marie, like, can you just tell us a little bit more, like for another minute or two, like your current, because you had this career in corporate America and now you've been in your new position. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that in closing as well?
Oh, sure. Yes. So corporate, going into my 14th year. Last day was the end of October, and stepped into a new position with Ignite Her Mind with my business coach, Julie Ciardi. Absolutely incredible experience, and that's all because of coaching that led me to what I'm doing today. And so with Ignite Her Mind, our mission is to really help women fully step into their power and create businesses, careers, and lives of their dreams, to be who they want to be, to really show up in this life the way they want to show up. I mean, I pinch myself because of the incredible women I get to work with every single day, and to do powerful, meaningful work that really changes trajectory of women's lives. It's just truly a blessing. So thank you, Christine, for letting me share.
Yeah, that's important. So, because again, we're here because we're passionate about coaching and career coaching. And anyone who's watching or watching it on the replay, if you haven't worked with a career coach, definitely look into it and make that something for 2022, because it'll help you to have your best year yet. So, yeah. So anyway, well, Marie, it was great talking with you. The time just flew. I felt like we only talked for 5 minutes, and it's already like it's almost 10 to 1 here in the Chicago area. So yeah. So thank you for just
Thank
being a
you.
great person to have this conversation with. And thank you, anyone who's watching now or on the replay. And please reach out to us with any questions that you may have. And have a great week. Enjoy the rest of your week. Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, everybody. All right. Bye
Bye.
now.